And welcome back once again to How to Survive 2025. I'm Brian Keene.
I'm Dacia M. Arnold.
I'm Jim Cobb.
How you doing this week, guys?
Pretty good.
Yeah, we were going to talk about the concept of the gray man, of how to blend in with your surroundings, how to hide in plain sight. We were going to reveal the ninja secrets. Remember those ads in the back of Soldier of Fortune magazine back in the 80s, Jim?
Oh
Learn
yeah,
the
oh
secrets of the
yeah.
ninja, hide in plain sight, turn invisible. Um,
All those fun books from Paladine Press.
Yeah, we were gonna talk about that today. Um, but then, independently of each other, we were all talking, and as we're recording this episode, it's Monday, November 19th, and Ukraine has just fired U.S. supplied missiles into Russia, and Russia's talking about, okay, well, I guess NATO wants war, and all three of us have been doom scrolling or taking a break from doom
hmm
and we thought maybe we should just do an impromptu show about that because taking a break from prepping, from thinking about prepping, from thinking about scenarios is an important part of prepping. Um, I love comic books. I'm a comic book collector. For those of you watching on YouTube, here's a Fantastic Four from 1971 that almost completes my run of Fantastic Four. At this point, I need the first 8 issues and a couple random ones in the 100s, and I'll have them all. But I don't think about comic books all the time.
hmm
Sometimes you got to take a break from comic books, right? Sometimes you got to take a break from prepping. You got to take a break from doom scrolling. Regardless of how you voted in the past US election, you can agree, you can concur that half the country are upset with the results. Half the country are ecstatic with the results. Half the country are upset. Um, you can agree that a lot of people in this country, regardless of how they voted, are watching the Ukraine and Russia news very, very carefully right now.
hmm
But to go down that rabbit hole is to give in to anxiety, which of course can lead to depression. It can lead to marital trouble. It can lead to familial trouble. Um, you begin to obsess about it. So yes, let's talk about how we, the professionals, take a break from doom scrolling. First of all, how do we recognize when we're paying too much attention to this shit? Dacia, you just took a break from doom scrolling. So
I'm
walk
yeah.
us through it. How did you realize, oh, I need to put the phone down and not pay attention?
Um when so I stopped. So the platforms that I typically um kind of gravitate towards are Facebook is just where I started my social I MySpace, but then Facebook. But that's where my friends, family are, where my peers are. My old army buddies are on Facebook. Then on Instagram, they're connected. I don't do too much on Twitter. You guys are champs for being on Twitter. I've dabbled here and there, but it's not somewhere that I gravitate towards daily. TikTok. TikTok is a black hole. And I think the moment I decided to take a break from social media, period, was when I saw this video with these two politician women, and they're in their 30s, 40s, and they were stitching this video of a younger girl who my early 20s, and she was like, oh, we need to rally and come together and make all this noise. And these two women were like, okay, that's fine, young lady, I don't know what you plan to do, but we're going to go in here and make sure democracy is still functioning. And I'm like, and are you guys on the same team? Because that doesn't make, she's a child and you're an adult. Like, do you expect her to walk into,
Yeah.
lobby? What? This is silly. It was silly. It was petty. Um, And then, like, at the same time, I was like, is my voice not wanted here? Because I'm not pulling my hair out and I'm not banging on the doors and writing my congressman. So I decided to take a break. It pissed me off. So I think the
Yeah.
moment that you get pissed the fuck off, get off social media.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't say something nice, get off of social media.
Yep. And that's honestly, that's a big indicator for me.
Mm-hmm.
I spend way more time on social media than I should, way more time than is healthy. And it's partially because I'm chained to a keyboard all day long, trying to do this, that, and the other. So I always have it running in the background, and I recognize that it should be shut off more often than I do. But when I find myself getting really pissed
Mm-hmm.
at the most inane comments, whether it's something I posted or somebody else, and I'm just scrolling through and I see somebody react to somebody's post. When I find myself getting just really, really worked up, okay, it's time. We're going to shut that down for a while. We're not going to touch it for a while. Like you, Facebook is kind of my go to.
Mm-hmm.
I am active on Twitter. To this day, I still can't figure Twitter out. I still can't get any traction there, but I still am there. Um, I recently started posting again on Blue Sky, kind of the Twitter
Mm-hmm.
alternative. Um, and again, I can't, I haven't really figured everything out yet for that. Facebook is that's my social media home. You know, that's where people find me. That's where I interact with the most people. I have a pretty good following there. Some of the people that are on my Facebook with me, I've known 15 years or more through social media.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, lately, and when I say lately, I'm going to say the last 3-4 months, it's been really bad
Mm-hmm.
with reactionary posts, with comments that are just vile. I mean, they're
Mm.
just gross, and it gets tiresome for me as an educator, because to me, a lot of that energy could be used in a much more productive manner, you know, and it it bothers me when I or somebody else will make a post that's informative and educational, not at all, politics or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about water filtration or food storage, something like that, and somebody interjects politics into the comments,
It
and then
always
it's
comes up,
off to the races.
especially in the preparedness
Yeah,
community.
yeah,
Will definitely always come back to
yep,
politics
yep,
because everyone preps for different things, but a lot of the times, for a lot of people, it is
hmm
for in case the person that they didn't want to get elected got elected.
right. I mean, I've even seen it in. I'm one of the groups I'm in on Facebook. Like Brian, I'm a comic book guy. I'm not anywhere near as into it as he is. For me, it's more nostalgia than anything
Mm-hmm.
else. But one of the groups I'm in is all devoted to forgotten and obscure comic book characters that people will bring up. Hey, remember this guy? Remember this one? And just today, somebody brought up this one little group of comic book superheroes, and immediately somebody made a political comment about it. Now, an argument can be made that comic books
They
are
were.
inherently political,
They are.
but the topic of the post had nothing to do with it. It was, do you remember these heroes? And
Mm-hmm.
somebody immediately took it in a political direction, and it was ridiculous. It was just ridiculous. And these are the people that also need to take a break from social media. You know, you need to,
Oh.
if your first instinct on any topic is to interject politics, that's not healthy. It's just not. You need to step away from the keyboard for a little while. And as my son puts it, go outside and touch grass.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit different than the two of you as far as social media. I've never had a problem hopping off of it when I need to. Now, you're both laughing and saying, dude, we've seen you get in more fights on social
It
media
is
than
true.
anybody.
It is
But
true.
I
but
don't see that as a problem. I see that as handling my business.
Mm-hmm.
and in your defense, 90% or better of those fights arrived on your doorstep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for me, the doom scrolling comes from the news. I think we've mentioned on a previous episode, I don't watch cable news on either side. I don't watch Fox. I don't watch MSNBC. I don't watch CNN. I get all my news from news aggregators. You know, primarily places like Drudge Report and places like that. And I know people love to say that it has a political slant. It really doesn't. All it does is link to Reuters and Associated Press and other news feeds.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is I start every day reading the news. And on days like today, when the Ukraine has now fired long range NATO provided missiles into Russia, and Russia says, all right, we're updating our nuclear doctrine. And oh, by the way, we consider this, you know, an act of war by NATO itself. I find that I don't stop reading the news.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of moving on to the day's work or any other obligation I may have, doing the laundry, mowing the lawn, um, I sit there and I'm looking for live updates and I'm trying to find the latest. And then the next thing you know, I find myself like I was today at 9:45 a.m., where I'm mapping out where all my loved ones are currently in the United States because they're all
Mm-hmm.
traveling,
Mm-hmm.
and how many tanks of gas it'll take me to get to them, what route to use, what's most likely to be nuked first. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
where's the alternate route? Okay, I got to go to Boston, then Cincinnati, then Kentucky, then back over to and then I realize, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
You got to get to work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when my doom scrolling break kicks in.
And going back to what we said at the start of the show, it's important to recognize that it's okay to take a break
Mm-hmm.
from prepping. It's okay to take a break from doom scrolling. In today's day and age, where information is available at your fingertips 24/7, it's okay to walk away from it for a little while. You should prep to live. You should not live to prep. Prepping can be a lifestyle, and for some, it should be a lifestyle, but that doesn't mean it should run your life.
Mm-hmm.
You need to take breaks. You need to take care of yourself. Self care is a thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's important. And a lot of times we forget about it, whether we're talking about prepping or we're talking about just work or whatever, is currently occupying the majority of your time. You need to take care of yourself.
I have a question for both of you, just on when people tell me that they're hopping off Facebook
Mm-hmm.
or hopping off their social media. For me, I'm just like, well, all of my social media is pretty much curated to who I want to talk to, what I want to talk about. This is very specific for like Instagram. It is easy for you to be on Instagram and only see what you want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, especially with the election, if you have people on Facebook from different aspects of your life, they could have varying views across, I mean, anywhere in any setting, writers or
Mm-hmm.
military folks, family even, can be very polarized, and don't align with the other population
Right.
on your group. So then you post a post and maybe it is striking a nerve with somebody. So you got all these people who are like, hell yeah, preach the word. And then the other party's like, oh, this is wrong. These aren't facts or
Right.
something like that. So when you get those people who just come on there to share their opinion, whatever, for whatever reason, malicious or not, I don't care if they're angry, are are you of the mind of like, block? You don't think the way I do and I think you're wrong, I'm gonna block you? Or do you believe in like maintaining like those relationships with those people that you've had for decades and decades. Like I've this one person on my social media I went to fucking war with. Like, I'm not going to boot this person
Right.
out of my life after all that we've been through because we disagree on politics.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm probably the wrong person to ask because I don't use social media to stay in touch with people. I really genuinely don't. I use it to promote my books, promote my writing, stay in touch with my fan base. If I want to talk to you guys, or I want to talk to my Navy buddies, or I want to talk to my wife, I either do it via text message or phone call, or I hate doing it via email, but I'll do it via email or in person. The only Twitter, Facebook, all of these feeds and platforms, I never go and look and see what other people are doing. Like I really genuinely don't. I don't care what other people are doing. I don't care what you had for breakfast. I don't care what somebody I went to high school with thinks about, whether or not there's climate change. I don't care what somebody I served with is drinking tonight. If I want to know those details, I'll call them and ask. Social media has always been a tool for me, and it's only a tool. Now, that being said, though, if somebody comes into my public space, which I'm utilizing to sell books and communicate with my fan base, if they come on there and they're being an asshole and they're harassing people or they're being abusive to people or, just posting Brian Keene's stuff sucks over and over and over again.
Who would do that?
Yeah, I just block and move on.
Yeah.
That's if I walk into Walmart tonight and with my signboard and proceed, pull out the bullhorn and proceed to berate the customers or make a political speech about Walmart's impact on the rainforest, they're going to eject me from that space, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
I treat my social media the same way.
I'm very similar to that. Where number one, I've had a very long-standing rule on my social media that I don't do politics at all, ever. I do not do politics in any way, shape, or form, and I'm very adamant about that. Number one, because I think social media is a piss poor location to talk politics. I don't think much good comes of those conversations. You're not going to convince somebody to jump ship because of something you post on Facebook. All it does is lead to arguments. You're not going to have a fruitful, beneficial, informative conversation about politics on Facebook. It's just not going to happen. So I sidestepped the whole thing. And for years and years and years, I've insisted we don't talk politics on my page, no matter what. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you're supporting. We just don't do it. And over the years, there have been people who have pushed and shoved that to the forefront, and they suddenly are wondering why they're not seeing me on Facebook anymore. Okay. I won't tolerate it. Now, particularly coming into this election, I was a little more lax with it, where if somebody made an offhanded comment, but did it respectfully, politely, civilly, okay. But I've had people who, imagine you're at work and you're in the break room and you're sitting down with your friend. Hey, did you see that new show last night? Oh yeah, it was really great. And then somebody from a different table jumps over and says, that network, they're just doing that to get advertising money because they're going to do this and they're going to raid the covers and they're going to do all these negative things. That's my Facebook. Okay. That's
true.
what would happen.
Yeah.
And those people got shown the door because I won't tolerate it. Now, I'm a little more social than Brian is with regards to social media, where I use it as a marketing tool, yes, but I do also use it as a way to just talk to people because I live a very lonely existence in my house. I want to interact with other human beings once in a while. Um, so I do have a more social media, but at the same time, I won't tolerate bullshit.
One
And
thing one thing that I realized just this season is that while everything is polarized, we're not actually arguing these topics.
mhm,
We're arguing based on our individual highest core values. And so while people are like, yes, I think that the Second Amendment is super important. All right, it's constitutional. Our Second Amendment is important. I'm not saying that you are wrong. But I am not wrong in thinking that equity is also important. While the Second Amendment, your God-given rights might be like your highest core value, and so all of your beliefs are going to fall into this highest core value. So whatever topic it may be fits into there. What if my highest core value is that I want everyone to have an equal chance at success and happiness? And that's my highest core value. And so I'm on this side I'm on the opposite side of the same topic, but not because I'm wrong. Like everyone is convinced the other side, their opposing views are the bad guy.
mhm,
No one is going to see themselves as your bad guy. No one
right,
is.
right,
They see you as the bad guy. There is no bad guy here. It is just a difference in your highest core value,
mhm,
um, and how hard you're willing to fight to make everyone else's line up with yours. Um, but we've made enemies out of our friends, and it's sad
mhm,
that we can't have these intellectual spaces where we
right,
recognize that it isn't right and wrong, uh,
mhm.
like on each side of these. Now, humanity and treating people like people, I think, is very important.
Well, I've said for years that the vast majority of the problems we face in our culture in our country would disappear overnight if we would just treat everybody else like fucking human beings.
Mm,
That's all it takes. That's
hmm.
literally all it takes is just to treat one another like human beings. You know, part of the problem, and we're getting way beyond doom scrolling here, but that's okay. Um, I think social media is to blame for a lot of it because it's taken the personal element out of
It
these
is.
conversations.
People get so brave. People get
Yeah.
so brave
Yep.
on social media. I saw somebody the other day rallying people to violence. And I'm like, hang
Hmm.
on a second, dude. Like, have you ever been to war?
Right.
Like, that's
Right.
not a fun time. That's not something, and we've talked about this. That's not something I want to have at home. How are you so brave to say, are you ready to actually fight? Because that's what it's going to come down to.
Well, we have multiple generations at this point who have grown up without the threat of getting punched in the mouth for what they want to say.
Hmm.
And it really, I mean, we laugh about it, but it's true. I mean, you look at the bullying that happens.
Hmm.
How much of it happens online versus in person nowadays? I'm not saying it doesn't happen in person. I'm saying a lot of it is online and a lot of it is being done because there's no threat of repercussions. There's no
Yeah.
consequence there.
We should totally go back to just knocking people's teeth out. Like,
Well, I mean,
I'm
to a
joking.
degree, yeah. I mean,
But what is the digital equivalent? I mean, if
Hi.
it's so passive aggressive, Brian,
well, I'll
is
tell
the
you something.
digital equivalent to punch in the mouth.
Here's a funny story. Here's a little anecdote for everybody. Some of you know I was a private investigator for many years before I transitioned into writing. When I started out as a PI, one of the things that I specialized in were online investigations like email tracing and things like that. And this is we're going back to just when message boards were still kind of a new
Mm-hmm.
thing. Okay. Just to kind of get your mind in that right area. So the dial up internet provider that we used had a local message board where people could not just network, but also advertise home businesses and things like that. So I start talking about my private investigation business, and that one of the services I offered was email tracing and internet profiling. And a guy commented on the message board and said, "You can't trace somebody online. We're all anonymous." It took me less than an hour to drive to his house and
Yes.
knock on his door and introduce myself. You could hear his sphincter slam shut, echoing off the trees. Okay. It was admittedly really fucking cool that I was able to do that. Okay. And it freaked him out. And he was a lot more polite and civil after that happened, too.
Yeah. Well, and meeting somebody in person too kind
Yep.
of removes the facade of this is not a real person. And then you meet them
Right.
and you're like, oh, they're actually pretty cool.
Well, and I would guess that we've all had the experience where, we were cross with somebody online, and we later met them at a convention or a signing
Mm.
or whatever the case is, and suddenly all of that negativity kind of washed away, and it's like, yeah, you know what, we're okay, we're cool.
Actually, that has never happened to me
Oh,
because
really?
I've never been mean to anybody. And if I was mean, I apologize because I felt really bad.
So
I
It's true.
what is your guys' favorite thing to do when you need to take a break from doom scrolling? For me, it's either watch romantic comedies or read a book.
That's fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
We do a lot of movies, we do a lot of
Hmm.
TV shows. One of my favorite things to do if I'm really worked up and just need to step away, I go hug my dog.
Yeah.
That helps. It really helps. And
I bushcrafted a shed this week.
nice.
I did. I cut down trees and I got a post digger and I dug the posts down. My father-in-law came and helped, but yeah, we dug them out and then I bought concrete, poured the concrete, and now we
Wow.
got to put the joining posts on. And then I think I'm gonna do I'm gonna pallet the roof
Okay.
because of snow. I don't want because we're just gonna tarp it because
Right.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do these things just because, like, yes, I could go and buy like
A
an aluminum
prefab shed or
frame
whatever. Yeah.
shed or whatever, but that's not cool and that's not fun.
Right.
You
Right.
know, this is the coolest part. I even used bricks from the last cobblestone road in my town that I own. I used bricks to brick the bottom. And then next season, when we actually get like a real shed, we will take it apart and make it a gazebo that
Nice.
we built. And it's all like made of trees. It's so cool.
Very
But yeah,
nice.
that's what
Very
I
nice.
like making things and being crafty and frugal.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
Very
your
cool.
homework assignment this week, folks, is to take a break.
Yep.
Make yourself take a break.
Please.
Go fishing, go for a
Mhm.
hike, hug your dog, cut down trees and make a wackadoo shed like Dacia.
I am a wackadoo.
Well,
Yeah, do
and
something crafty. Play with your kids. Look at your family.
Yeah.
recognize that it's okay to take a break,
Mhm.
and you need to live your life. You really do. I mean, that's the whole point here, is to live to see another day and enjoy what life you have.
Because even when you're not looking at social media, it's going to be okay.
That's right. All right.
100%.
We will see you next week, folks.